All right, let's get right into it. We're often taught that getting good with money is all about what you know. It's about spreadsheets and charts and really complex formulas. But what if I told you that financial success has almost nothing to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave? Today, we are breaking down some of the most powerful, game-changing lessons from Morgan Housel's brilliant book, The Psychology of Money. And to kick things off, I want to share a real-life story that just completely flips our expectations about wealth upside down. It's a tale of two very different guys who ended up in places you would never, ever predict.
So on one hand, you've got Ronald Reed. He was a janitor, a gas station attendant, lived a really simple life. On the other hand, you have Richard Fuscone. This guy was the whole package. Harvard MBA, a top executive at Merrill Lynch, retired in his 40s to become a philanthropist. Now get this, one of them died with an $8 million fortune that he quietly left to charity, and the other one went completely bankrupt. Can you guess who was who? You got it. The janitor was the secret multimillionaire, while the high-flying executive lost everything.
I mean, how on earth is that possible? How can a guy with zero financial training crush an industry expert? The answer, and this is the whole point, has nothing to do with their education or their income. It's all about their behavior.
And that leads us perfectly into the central idea of the book, which is that your personal relationship with things like greed and fear is so much more important than any textbook financial knowledge you could ever learn. See, Housel's big argument is that financial success is a soft skill. It's not a hard science like physics. What he means is that your personality, your patience, your emotions, these are the real drivers of your financial outcomes. They matter way more than your ability to build a fancy spreadsheet.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head, right? A genius who loses control of their emotions can be an absolute financial disaster. But an ordinary person with just a few key behavioral skills can end up achieving incredible wealth. Think about it this way. We're kind of conditioned to see money as a math problem. Like physics, with these strict rules and predictable outcomes. But it's not. It's psychology. It is messy, it's emotional, it's full of nuance, because we as human beings are messy and emotional.
All right, let's talk about the first big principle. And this is a huge one. It's one of the biggest psychological hurdles we all face. The trap of the moving goalpost. The idea of enough.
There's this incredible story about Joseph Heller, the author of the classic book Catch-22. He's at a billionaire's party, and someone points out that a hedge fund manager there makes more money in a single day than Heller's famous novel made in its entire history. And Heller's response is just perfect. He says, "Yes, but I have something he will never have. Enough." And that story just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? This constant desire for more is a trap. Social comparison is a game you literally cannot win because there will always be someone with a bigger fish. The hardest financial skill in the world is just getting the goalpost to stop moving. And the takeaway here is absolutely crucial. There is no good reason to risk what you have and need for something you don't have and don't.
Okay, so if the first principle is knowing when you have enough, the second is understanding what wealth actually is. And I'm willing to bet it's not what you think.
This is one of my favorite lines from the entire book because it's so simple and so counterintuitive. We're trained to see wealth as fancy stuff, right? But showing off is literally the fastest way to have less money.
So the book makes this really critical distinction between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is visible. It's your kind income. It's the fancy car, the big house, the stuff you spend money on. But being wealthy, that's hidden. It's the income you don't spend. It's all the savings and investments that are quietly growing in the background, out of sight.
So here it is. Real wealth is what you don't see. Wealth is the nice car you didn't buy. It's the financial freedom that comes from all those unspent assets. When you see someone driving a $100,000 car, you don't actually know if they're wealthy. The only thing you know for sure is that they have $100,000 less than they used to. So if it's not about buying fancy things, then what's the point? What's the ultimate goal? Well, the book argues that the real payoff from managing our behavior around money is something way more valuable than stuff. So decades ago, a psychologist named Angus Campbell set out to discover the keys to happiness. And what he found was fascinating. It wasn't your salary, it wasn't how big your house was, it wasn't your job title. The single most powerful predictor of happiness was having a strong sense of control over your own life.
And this, right here, is where it all comes together. The highest dividend that money pays is the ability to control your time. It is the freedom to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want today.
That feeling of autonomy, that's the real return on your savings. That's a form of wealth that no luxury good could ever hope to match.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this question. Just for a moment, forget about getting rich. Instead, think about getting free. What is one small behavior you could change starting right now that will give you just a little bit more control over your time? The answer to that question might just be the most valuable piece of financial advice you'll ever get.